when I am aware of myself being kind of aware, or it's very blissful. It's kind of like a penetration through the heart. It's kind of like, like very, 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 very good. But maybe that's just a little snowflake. I don't know. I have no idea.
I can only say that when you plug in proper, I mean, the body is not in any way left out of the equation, and isn't just about connecting with the universe through the heart. It's definitely not excluding that, but it's not just that. I mean, in a way I could say that the hard part of embracing truth is getting to the bottom of things. The recognitions that go on the level of one and oneness, that is one level. But if that level is not plugged into the level of individuality as well, then there's actually a digging down through matter waiting to happen. It's an opening downwards. And that opening downwards, in that opening downwards, you will meet the uniqueness of your own life. A uniqueness which reveals your individual sweetness. An invitation which will allow for an unfolding which includes happiness on a very, very intimate, natural, individual level. So this is truth being born. One thing is the eyes moving to the perspective of one, and all of this is me, and it's all very well, very beautiful. But the call at present is to allow truth to reach all the way into the toes. And when I say the toes, I mean that the individuality, that uniform reality of everything is me, gets to permeate so deeply down through the body, so as to be truth, to be born in form. But truth in form isn't just uniform. You understand? It isn't oneness. It is your individual reflection. It is your individual birth as truth through that form. What incarnates is uniform, of course. Pure being coming in. But in acknowledging the intimacy that you need to have with yourself as the soul of you, that human soul, which is like the reflection, the color that truth gets when it gets in through your form, in through your wiring. Yes? From there, yes, we are all one, but we're also not one. We're also individuals. We're also plugged in to the deepest integrity of everything through that embrace of the feminine. Our birth to the bottom is such a display of vulnerability. It's an arrival as vulnerability. And that vulnerability is just so much about being fully present in matter. And matter itself is vulnerable. It is just such a little speck in the scope of everything. And to be able to be with that vulnerability, to be able to be with that level of nakedness. In a way I can say that in many ways it seems like our experience, or our fear at least, is that it's that it's just not possible to be that vulnerable, to be that level of sensitivity, to be that level of nakedness, of intimacy, of unprotected. And especially if we, right there, the best, I could say, proof that our minds use is to look at the world. It's so rough. But there are so many not real views inside of that. There are so many excuses not to be vulnerable. But actually, what we long for more than anything is to be met deeply. And we try to get that from each other. But what we actually need to do is meet ourselves deeply. When we can meet ourselves deeply, we can meet each other deeply. Then we can truly be together, you know? We can't be together if we aren't willing to allow that self-rest. We can be together with the intention of being together without being together. But everything simply is wheeled back to the reality that we need to give ourselves exactly that which we're trying to get from other. Because we have to start with ourselves. This is where the aspect of freedom comes into the picture. We can't be free together if we need to fill gaps for each other. And this is basically where all of that obscuration comes into the picture. Fear of losing, like all of the actions that stems from fear. It's all because we have something or someone in our lives and we're afraid of losing it or them. And it's because somehow they complete us. But you are complete in yourself. And the human wholeness relies on that willingness to be whole in yourself, rather than use other or else to try and fulfill you. So I'm not speaking about that as an end game. I'm speaking about it as the beginning. Because a whole new life starts in that moment where our wholeness arises out of our full commitment as consciousness. And we stand with that full commitment as consciousness to not skip our own presence for anything in this world or beyond it. Then we are fully here. And then an entirely new life begins. Or I could almost say, then life begins. You know? It's just so hard for us to imagine even, because as human beings we are so like caught up in our lives, lived from that lack of wholeness, that we can't even imagine to be without it. We can't imagine that level of acknowledgement, of recognition, of value. We can't even imagine to live our lives from that place. But obviously this is what awaits. It's almost like we have resistance to even get to that point because we have some idea that it's the end. And the somebodiness which is standing, like, for that somebodiness, which is that duality of like having wants outside of what life wants. It's like, to that part it is the end, but it's the new beginning, you know? Or it's the old beginning, I could even say. It's that beginning which was before we started parting ways with our surrender. It's a return to nature, but with the intelligence and our ability to manifest as our highest potential, just in pure living,